Hello, welcome to Books and Brews,
the place where beer and literature meet.
with your host, the seer of the beer, Chris Powell.
And Laura Vosica, author of the Bluebells Chronicles.
Each month, we invite a guest author to read their works and talk about writing while sipping a beer specially paired to their work.
Today's guests are Ashley Fontainne and Andrea Emmes.
So sit back
Pop a cold one
and dive into some books.
and brew.
Welcome to episode number 78
Yes.
of Books and Brews with our wonderful guest Ashley Fontainne and Andrea Emmes. So, Laura, what have you been doing this month?
Wow, it has been a busy month. It was my birthday month, and somebody in this room likes to celebrate.
It's true.
So, but I did meet my new granddaughter. That was exciting. So she's my fourth grandchild, second granddaughter. I got a new Jeep,
You did?
and it's
They got
red.
towed away.
Actually, that's a funny story. I'd only had it 3 hours, literally 3 hours since it came.
And she was pulled over.
And I was pulled
Yes.
over by the police. Like, I haven't been pulled over in years. Although the upshot of that was funny. It turned out I had forgotten to turn on my headlights because I'm so used to his car where everything is automatic. Like, you
Right.
get in, it puts your seatbelt on for you, it gives you a foot massage, it pours you a cup of coffee. And so I got
Nice.
this old school Jeep where you have to actually crank the window. I mean, it's only 2 years old, but it has none of this. And so I haven't had to turn on headlights in 5 years, and it was just dusk. So I was actually
Oops.
kind of grateful. Yeah, like, whoop. But yeah, it's, so I got my Jeep, and we've got our Glen Merrill Farms decals on it, and we treated yet another injured sheep. So that was exciting. Our farmhand and I had to wrestle him to the ground, and he's not big, maybe only 50 pounds, but we had to put bleed stop on his horn because I think one of the other rams knocked it off, and there are arteries in there. And so poor Terry's lying on top of this ram after he hogtied him because they are strong. And we had to hold this bleed stop on his horn to try and heal him, and he's not happy with us.
Well, did you get a chance to read anything in addition to taking care of lambs?
I did. I've been reading The Veils of Time, which is 4 time travel novellas, so right up my alley. And I read the book. I just went out and read To the Sheep, Milo's Superpower, which is Mark and Justine Perlow were just my guests on Books and Brews Light, which you can find on YouTube. And so what I do is I go out and I read To the Sheep, and then I
She
put it
does.
up.
That's great.
And then I put it up on YouTube, and I send the book to my grandchildren. So if they want, they can listen to it being read, or their parents can read
I
with them.
think she really likes reading to sheep. though.
As I said,
It
there's
is
no
kind of
blowback.
fun.
There's no constructive criticism from the sheep.
Like,
We're not judgy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sometimes they turn around and poop in my general direction when I'm reading, and that
That
does
could
sound
be
like
that could be
criticism.
construed as a bad review. Yes.
Yep.
At least
so-
I don't do that.
Yeah. No, I don't even want to think about that.
Thank God for
And it-
small favors.
Right.
Kidding. No kidding. How about you? Did you do any reading?
Well, I've been doing a lot of reading, but it tends to be kind of boring,
Okay.
related to quantum chemistry and physics and junk like that, because I do a lot of quantum at work. So I'll pretend none of that exists. But other than that, I was reading another trap novel.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
Slater, too. I
yeah.
saw
mhm.
that.
Yeah, well, Jack Slater's the author,
Oh, okay.
and Jason Trapp is the CIA guy who is, a wonderful secret agent, can do absolutely anything, and he's fun to read. Kind of makes, Jack Reacher look like a amateur, but it's it's a lot of fun. So I'm again going to go out on a limb. I do this every time, and I'm guessing that our guests are very interesting. Can you tell us
They
more about that?
are. And in fact, today, this has happened maybe 5-6 times, maybe only 5 in the Books and Brews history. We have 2 guests with us today who co-wrote Eternal Beauty. So Ashley Fontainne writes in multiple genres, ranging from mystery thrillers to suspenseful paranormal to dark comedy. The recipient of numerous awards for her gritty, no-holds-barred style of writing, her stories will captivate and pull you inside the lives of her characters and intricate plot lines. I was taking notes in the beginning of this book to try and connect who's who. It was intricate, very fascinating. Andrea Emmes is an award-winning audiobook narrator and voiceover actor. Andrea started her performance journey in musical theater. She's enjoyed an eclectic career as a singer, dancer, Vegas headliner, magician's assistant, a recording artist, and a video game designer, which my son actually started going to school for. One of my sons. Diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome, Andrea has carved a new path in life as a disabled performer. She's narrated over 400 audiobooks and won several SOVAS. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
SOVAS awards. What does that stand for?
Society of Voiceover Arts. Society of Voiceover Arts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, Audio Award nominee, Earphones Awards, and she was named Best Female Narrator for the Independent Audiobook Awards. Congratulations.
was.
That's very toast-worthy.
Yes, I have nothing to toast with yet.
Soon,
So,
though, soon.
yeah, that brings us to our first drink.
Well, I was taken by the story of Bridget, and especially it was interesting because, this kind of introductory reading that we had doesn't really give you the full scope. And it was, in talking to Laura later after the story got going, I was convinced that, we had a cocktail here that was very appropriate called the Exorcist. And so I was able to find this. It's also kind of neat because we have Halloween coming up. And
Yes.
so it's kind of a well-known cocktail in bars around the time of Halloween. And what we're going to start with is some tequila.
It brings back bad memories.
Right, yeah. We're going to put about 1.5 ounces of tequila in for each drink. Then we're going to add some blue curacao. So about 3/4 ounce of that. So I'll put in 1.5 ounces for both drinks. And this is, of course, a neat mixer because it has some very vibrant color to it. And then what I'm going to do is add in some lime juice to go with it, which is going to have some nice mixing of color.
Looks really good.
And here is our Exorcist. A nice
Wow.
Oh,
blue
wow.
with the green also in there.
Looks like what comes
So-
out after the exorcism is over.
Yes. We break this out. Cheers. Yes, indeed.
A little dark, but good. Along those lines, I have to tell a funny story. My son, when he was 9, decided to do something I had told him over and over not to do. In fact, there were 2 things I told him over and over not to do because he was going to get hurt. Well, it was St. Patrick's Day. We had dyed everything green. He did one of the things and he got hurt. We ended up in ER. The upshot is he ended up being airlifted, so it was a pretty serious injury. But we finally got the staff's attention when he started vomiting green all over everything.
Oh, no.
Then they were finally like, oh, maybe he really is in need of medical care.
Wow.
He's either from a UFO or he's having some issues.
Right.
So it was a funny story apart from the whole 3 days.
Right. Yeah. Aside from that.
Yeah. And actually, the funny upshot of it is that only last year, 2 years ago, he's 36. He finally said, Mom, I didn't actually do the one thing that you told me not to do that you've thought for years I did. I actually did the other thing you told me not to do. I was like, why did you lie to me? Because you told me not to do the thing I did.
How old was he?
He was 9.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
That makes perfect sense to a 9-year-old.
Right. I was 9.
But this is 27 years later. He's, held this close to the chest,
And he finally confessed to me, I've been lying to you for like 29
Right.
years. It's
Yes.
pretty funny. Reading number 1 about Bridget.
Before we get, can we kind of give you a little bit of backstory on these 3 characters and about
Yeah,
the
go
book
ahead.
itself so people won't be confused? So when I had already made the decision to stop writing when with my last book, Reclamation, when Andrea reached out to me and said, no, we have to do one together. And so that's how this came about. And so we worked on it together. I asked her to write from Bridget's perspective because I'm old and I don't remember what it's like to be 6 years old. And she's a lot younger than I am. So that's kind of how we came up with it. But the basis of this story is told from the perspective of three separate women over an 11-year period. And some of the core things are grief. Bridget has just lost her family. She was very young. She lost her parents in a tragic fire. She's now having to live with her paternal grandmother because her father is no longer around. And it, the things that she goes through, the section that Andrea is about ready to read, she is now, it has been a year later from the fire, and she is now trying to navigate this whole new life. She had to be uprooted from where she grew up, and now she's somewhere completely different with people she really doesn't know very well. And that leads us to this particular scene that Andrea is going to narrate.
I toss and turn while trying to get comfortable, but it's no use. The box fan isn't helping, and I'm thirsty. I creep out of the room, down the stairs, making sure not to step on the spots I know squeak, and into the kitchen. Graham keeps plenty of bottled water in the fridge, so I grab one and head to the living room where her iPad charges at night. When I'm this restless, there is only one person who can calm me down. I settle into the cool leather couch, pick up the iPad, turn it on, enter Graham's code, move the volume to its lowest setting, bypass the parental controls, and click on the YouTube app. I feel calm and warm as a video of Barbara O'Malley putting on makeup plays. I stifle a laugh because it starts at the 10-minute mark, which means Graham's been watching too. After we moved here last year, she became a subscriber. The makeup tricks and exercise program work because Graham's cheeks are healthy pink. She has more energy to play with me longer, and her hair is shiny white rather than dull gray. I remember being so sad when the pretty fairy didn't come to visit me in my dreams on Christmas Eve. But the next morning, I was so happy when I looked at Graham's iPad, and there she was. Unlike me, Barbara's skin is flawless and without freckles. Her eyes sparkle like green diamonds. In tonight's video, she's sitting outside, surrounded by trees, flowers, and butterflies. And when she smiles, it takes my breath away. It's wrong to think it, but she's even prettier than my mommy. Barbara's the most beautiful person I've ever seen. She's my hero, and when I grow up, I want to be just like her in every way. After leaning the iPad against the wall, I mimic every move as she gently puts on eyeshadow, liner, mascara, blush, lip liner, and concealer. Excited for the day when I can start wearing makeup. Honey, what are you doing up at this hour? Graham's voice makes me jump, barely catching the iPad before it crashes onto the hardwood floor. I set it down on the ottoman. I couldn't sleep, so I came down to get a drink of water. The iPad was on and playing this video, so I watched it. I swear I turned it off before going to bed, but that's besides the point. You know you're not supposed to use any electronics unless I'm around, sweetie. I'm sorry, but I couldn't look away. Who is she, Graham? She's so pretty and reminds me of Mommy. Her name is Barbara O'Malley. And yes, she is a stunner. I was watching a makeup tutorial earlier, and guess I forgot to turn it off. She appears beautiful, but as we've discussed before, what we see online or on TV isn't always truthful. Then, why do you watch her? The anger on her face disappears as she nods toward the kitchen. And I realize then she isn't going to punish me for breaking a rule. She didn't catch my lie, and she's embarrassed by my question and isn't going to answer. She does have some similarities with your mother, but I think she looks a lot like you, just not as pretty. She smiles. Please turn off the iPad, and then come with me while I take Cuddles outside for a potty break. Yes, ma'am. I lost my breath in the middle of
It's
that.
okay.
I was like, sorry.
If you'd been in the world of music, you would have been able to just do some circular breathing.
I have been in the world of music. I used to be a
Okay.
professional singer, but you
Huh?
forget circular breathing when you're doing this because you're doing you're acting, and so
Right.
it's harder to do the circular breathing when doing narration because
I
I've
bet.
tried.
We just saw Trombone Shorty as part of my birthday present, and he must have held a note for like 3.5 minutes. He had to have been doing circular breathing.
Yeah,
So can you actually do that?
I can, but it's also been a long time since I've sung because I used to be a professional. I mean, I was in Vegas for a long time,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it can be so different when narrating a book because there's a lot of shifts that you have to do. You have to
Mhm.
take breaths in certain aspects. So it's not like if I were to, like, this piece is about 4 minutes long. If I did this all in one breath or a circular breathing, it would lose the nuance of the acting and
Right.
the you know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
it's 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 different.
You know,
Yeah.
I do have to say, in believing everything on the internet, I was assured by Abraham Lincoln I could believe everything on the internet.
Well, you know how
Posted it
much of an internet
He did.
man he was back then.
Yeah.
So, I liked this Graham reminding Bridget what you see online isn't real. And that's kind of a theme that runs through, and I think, in fact, plays
Yes.
directly to the end of the book. What you
Yes.
think you know, a lot more people should realize that and be a lot more humble. Just my not so humble opinion.
You know,
I
when we were
was
talking about this, I actually had written a short story about this that did not include the character of Bridget several years ago. And as we were discussing creating something together, the one specific thing that we wanted to get across was to bring in a younger person because of the society that they're growing up in now is so centered around, well, I can't hold it up because I'm looking at phones and the internet and everything else. And we have a whole several generations that cannot distinguish between what's real and what's not. And that is becoming a real problem. And it is really discussed in this book from the perspective of young Bridget, who, she's already grieving. She's missing her mother and her stepfather. She's in this whole new environment. And then she sees somebody beautiful that, of course, we're human beings, we're drawn to beauty, right? And it's the same thing for Claire, who Andrea is going to read next. Claire, all three characters' lives intertwine because of a horrible fire. And Claire's family died in the same fire that Bridget's family died in. And so you have somebody else who is, middle aged and dealing with body
Body
dysmorphia.
dysmorphia.
Yeah. And because even me, who, I graduated in 1985, I'm not afraid to admit it. And we grew up with seeing images that were airbrushed. And, we've always had the industry, the beauty industry has always created this epiphany of what we're supposed to try to reach that is just not attainable. And it is even more so a problem now with the younger generation because they don't have anything else to look at. This is what they see every day. No one takes a picture without using a filter or, some type of manipulation to make themselves look better. But that's not reality. And it's starting to
Right.
cause a lot of problems. And we really wanted to bring that out in this story, which is why Andrea did such a fantastic job of bringing Bridget to life in this innocence that is so easily corrupted by the predators that are out there, not only physically, but also the actual machine that runs social media.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I do
there's
have
also
to say, though, coming from the 70s and 80s, that with enough Aquanet, you could actually make almost anything occur.
It's true.
that
Or you
is
could be so
true.
high on the Aquanet, you wouldn't know the truth from, reality from fiction. So,
And those
there's
cans
that.
Well,
were so big.
right.
I want
And
Mm.
if you grew up in the 80s and were in high school, then you also remember the girls laying on the locker room floor trying to wiggle into their skin tight
Yes.
jeans.
No,
To
you
try
always
and make
you had to have a friend. You had to have a friend that would help you. Yeah.
I wanted to say too, one of the things that was important to me as well, besides what Ashley just went through, was the disconnection and disassociation that social media causes. You think you know someone, you're like, oh, my friend's on Instagram. You're not.
Yeah.
I mean, You might know a lot of great deal about, when you share, but you don't really know people.
You know what they
Like,
told you.
Right.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Here's
It's so
another
easy
funny
to
story.
hide. Each of these women wear a mask of
Yes.
different things with
Right.
whatever neuroses that they've got and they're going through. And especially with Bridget, and for young people or those who, like, I remember the days before the internet and before cell phones, but these kids now don't and never will. So it's like, it's kind of scary that, and I don't know what it would have been like if that was all I knew, right? But it's so important to be like, you have to have human connection and know actually what that means and what is real and what is put upon.
I used to go to a bank where they had the drive-through, they had the phone app, and I would always walk in to cash my checks. I was teaching music lessons at the time, so I had a lot of checks to cash. And every single time I walked in, this guy sitting at the desk by the front would remind me, we have a phone app. You don't need to come in. And I'm like, that's exactly why I kept doing it, because I actually got to know the tellers. They knew me. I liked them. They liked me. And there was this human connection instead of just an app. So how did you two know each other that you asked her to write a book with you?
Oh my gosh. So look, can I go first, Andrea?
Yeah.
You didn't meet in the cemetery at midnight, did you?
No, we did not meet in the cemetery at midnight. So eons ago, back in 2011 and 12, when I first started writing, Andrea is the first narrator I ever chose to narrate one of my books. And I heard her audition on ACX, which is Audible's, ACX is the side that the authors use. Yeah. And I loved her voice, and we connected right away. And she narrated The Lie, which ended up being made into a small film. But that's another story. Anyway, we have written or combined our works together for years now. Fatal Agreements is the book that she narrated, that she won the big independent audiobook narrator award. And we actually got to meet then. That was in Kansas, right? Kansas City?
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah.
where we went?
Here
So
Now Festival,
yes, the Here Now Festival. So I actually drove there with my mom, and we got to meet, and I got to see her, and I got to get up on stage with her while she got her award. So that was a fantastic memory. I write really dark content sometimes because life is dark. There's light in it as well. And Andrea's incredible voice brings light through the darkness of some of the things that I write.
I think that's
sorry.
a really interesting point, because right now I've had a lot of people want me to make my books into audiobooks. And I've been looking and looking for the right narrator. And what do you want, a baritone male voice you think would be perfect?
I think yes. And but someone who's also flexible too, because there's a couple of main strains of both male and female characters in her books that need to be spoken to.
Right. And that's a hard thing, is finding the narrator. There are millions, I shouldn't say millions, there are lots of very good narrators.
Yes.
That it has to be a fit for the book.
Plus, I think someone with a Scottish accent would also work very well for your book.
So if you can do a male Scottish accent, you're hired.
It's great. Be no problem at all.
She's very good. I think besides actually writing this together, which was new for us, because I had written something and then I'm like, here, narrate this. This was a collaboration together, but probably the book that has meant the most to me is Ruined Wings. That's also a small independent film that's free to watch online at ruinedwings.com. It is about drug addiction, and my son is at 10 years sober. Thank you very much. But when he was not, it was an extremely painful thing to go through. And so, being the crazy writer that I am, I dealt with it that way. And I did not make it about him. I changed, as a female main character, some of the things in the story had changed, but Andrea blew that story away. And I remember being so incredibly thankful that she took the time to narrate it because it meant so much to me personally. Now I'm going to cry. Sorry. But so our connection, over the last 10 years has been extremely strong. And, I had decided to walk away from writing and she's like, no, wait, you got to do just one more. So let's write a book together. Let's write a book together. And so we did. So this is a great story to go out on for me.
Well, and I hope that we'll have time that I can ask you a bit about co-writing. I'm actually supposedly co-writing right now. I already did with Kendall Price 221 BC, and we're supposed to be working on the sequel 220. So I find it interesting how people write together, and I've heard all sorts of different ways.
And we also wrote Satan the Cellar.
Yes,
it's just what works for you. I co-wrote 2 books with the incredible Janelle Taylor, who's a New York Times bestselling author and a legend in the romance genre. And that was interesting because, we actually did paper. I wrote stuff, I printed it out, I mailed it to her.
That's what Kendall does. He mails me the manuscript on paper. Yeah. So we're ready for drink number 2.
Okay.
So after, I read this one, I just thought, again, kind of a little bit speaking to the Halloween aspect of thing, I came up with a cocktail called the Witch's Brew. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun for this. And so what we start with is actually some pearl luster at the bottom of a glass. So it's going to have a little bit of a interesting, glow to it. And then what I do is I've got some Empress Gin. Empress Gin, this is the indigo version. So this has the butterfly pea flower in it. And the interesting thing about this is that it changes color in response to certain things like lemon juice. So we're going to have some fun with this as I put some Empress Gin into the glass.
That is so cool.
And then we're going to add some tonic water. Now, you could also add just like sparkling water or club soda, but the tonic water in this case is going to give it just a little bit of bitterness, which going with the gin, of course, gin and tonic, is kind of a
Why don't you hold it to first so they can see the difference in color? If you like.
All right, yeah.
I'll send you the pictures.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But even with the tonic water, we're starting to see a nice little, very luminescent glow.
That's pretty.
And then I'm going to add some herbal simple syrup.
Bioluminescence.
Yes, indeed. And the simple syrup will eventually cut some of the sour of the lemon juice that goes into it. Then I'm going to add a full 2 ounces of lemon juice, which is a fair amount of lemon juice for a cocktail.
Yes. And so this will change the color, won't it?
Yes, this is alrighty. Now I'm going to stir this in order to make sure the ingredients are mixed. And we've already proceeded. You might have remembered it was a bit purple, and now we're getting a little pink with our Witch's Brew.
Wow.
Now I'm
very witchy.
Yes, indeed. This is going to get, kind of fun. Now I'm going to add just about a ½ ounce of blue curacao.
Oh, wow.
So this is the neat thing about this is it's going to give it a really neat glow. And again, we're changing color.
That's so cool.
It's 3 now, 3 colors.
Yes, at least 3. It was the kind of dark purple, then it was kind of the light purple, and then it turned almost whitish, and now it's blue.
That's so neat.
Mm.
Ooh,
And I'm adding
science.
ice.
That's
Okay.
science.
So can you see
Oh,
how
wow.
it's kind of sparkly in there?
Yeah.
Can you hold up the sprinkles that you used in here?
Oh yeah, they're just pearl luster
Yep.
kind of sprinkles that you could, put on cupcakes and things
Yep.
like that.
So we used this
Gotcha.
before in what was the book called? Pearl on the Mountain.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah. There's some Minnesota right there.
yeah.
Yeah, there. Hey, oh, don't you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I did not grow up in Minnesota, so I don't speak quite like my Minnesota relatives. I grew up in the Air Force. Are we putting some more in?
This is the Empress Gin, which I'm pouring very slowly over
On your lap.
Into my lap. Apparently, I wish this shot glass didn't do that, but The basic idea is this is putting in a little bit of a glowing layer on top.
So I don't know if you can see how that puts a little
Oh
layer of
wow,
purple
it's
on
kind
the
of
top.
purple.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Purple.
Exactly.
Yeah, isn't
It's a
that
little more
fascinating?
visible maybe
yeah,
on this.
like a rim of purple.
Oh, how
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here is our
Ooh.
witch's brew for Claire.
Hold yours up
Okay.
against your
How
purple rim
appropriate.
a little.
Yeah, let's see if it
Yeah,
shows up here. Yeah, maybe.
like that.
So
Nice.
this is going to be fun.
And whereas mine has turned more white, you can just see barely.
Oh, that's a marvelous flavor. That Empress gin
Uh-huh.
is really,
The
really
fruit
neat.
still is a little bit tart.
Well, 2
But-
ounces of lemon juice will do that to you.
Yeah, the lustrous pearl is beautiful. I would drink this just because it's beautiful. So
Yeah.
go ahead, rating number 2.
So on Claire,
And
this
also
is
the Celtic myth.
yeah. So the Celtic mythology plays a lot in this book. Part of it takes place at a cemetery in Saline County, Arkansas, called China Grove, which actually exists, which I've been to. And some of the scenes are specifically brought back from memory for when I was a kid, and we went out to the cemetery. In Claire's case, this particular passage that she's reading, she is reminiscing about a very traumatic event that happened with her and her now ex-boyfriend. And that's the first time, and Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong when I say this, but this is the first time that you're really introduced to some of the Celtic mythology with this. Is it Sluagh? Is that how you pronounce it? Sluagh?
Slua.
Sluagh. And so that's part of
Slua.
her, yeah, it's part of her, she's having a dream, and you realize this if you're actually reading the whole chapter, but about how the things that we have experienced become so embedded in who we are that we can't get rid of them even when we're sleeping. And this is coming back to haunt, the things that have happened are coming back to haunt her. And that's where we are in this chapter.
Thank you. A beast roars in the distance, sending me into a panic. I grab the rifle and flee in the direction toward where Chris parked his truck. Vines, branches, and prickly thorns ripping and tearing flesh and hair from me during the frantic run. Stopping only when I find myself steps away from the cemetery's entrance and realizing I went the wrong way. A woman, dressed in a flowy white gown, with long silver hair, motions to me from a hidden perch behind a large oak tree, and I dart toward safety. The woman holds what appears to be an infant, swaddled in a thick blue blanket. Tears stream down her beautiful face. Please, take him. I cannot keep him much longer. I fell and broke me ankles. It's not you the Sluagh seek, it's him. I want to feed on my precious baby's innocent soul. Please. Before I have time to pose a single question to the woman with a heavy Irish accent, something in the shadows to my right twirls and winds up from the ground, undulating in unison. I gape at the sight of countless black ravens with gnarled talons rising from the earth toward the sky like a black funnel cloud, their wings creating a strong wind. I've never been more frightened in my life. My hands shake as I reach out, and the woman places the quivering blanket into my arms. The second she lets go, the material disappears, and in its place is a headstone so heavy it pulls me to the ground, pinning my arms underneath. Her cackling laughter fills the night air, followed by the soul-piercing howls of a wolf, the screeches of the ravens, and my own horrified screams while trying to extricate myself from the headstone. But despite all my effort, it pulls me underneath the damp ground. Bolting upright, an ear-splitting scream rips from my throat, reverberating off the floor-to-ceiling windows facing the lake, making it sound like there's 5 of me. The nightmare was so vivid, so freaking real, that I'm hesitant to reach for the sheet, the back of my mind fearing this will be a Louis Creed moment from Pet Sematary. To my relief, there's no dirt or debris, just a set of chunky legs, toes that are in desperate need of a pedicure, and a left side covered in red, dimpled scars. I'm so sick of being plagued with nightmares, each iteration adding a new twist. What the hell is a slua? Why did the mysterious woman I've never seen before have an Irish accent? Maybe something in a horror movie I've watched recently? I have no clue, but the image of the writhing ravens makes me shudder. The terrifying dream takes me back to my childhood, waking up in the middle of the night, screaming for help, and my father rushes to my side to offer comfort, while my mother chastises me for having ridiculous dreams. At least this one wasn't about my McDonald's low self-esteem and constant searching for validation from my 5-star restaurant mother.
I love that comparison at the end. Now, one thing that really jumped out at me is Claire is constantly telling herself, or telling the reader, if you will, I love my parents. I love them. Okay, we had some issues, but I love them. And then we get this kind of stuff. Is where does this come from? You know, does she love her parents? Doesn't she? Do you think people are often this confused about their feelings toward other people?
In Claire's case, if you have a chance to end up reading the whole story, the parent-child relationship is always very complex, and even more so between a mother and a daughter, especially in Claire's case, where her mother, which you found out earlier in the story, was extremely beautiful, and Claire is not. Claire is the child that didn't meet her mother's expectations. And even though she tried her whole life to be, the good kid that got the good grades and did what she was supposed to, she was never enough. And, coming from a perspective of a child, you want your parents' adoration, you want their respect, and you want their love. And when you don't get it, you either say two things happen: I don't care, or you will do anything you can to gain that. And in her case, she had been trying to gain it, and then they died. So now she's left with, there's no resolution. There's no coming to Jesus moment with her mother, where as adults they sit down and talk about, gee, mom, you did this to me and I feel this way. And, there's none of that happens. So yes, she loves them, especially her mother, but she also doesn't like her because of the anger and the hole left in her for giving her such a negative self-esteem that she is so desperately trying to overcome in this story.
Yeah,
Well,
and I think I
go
think there's a common theme with abused children, that there is a sense of, even though you know the person who is harming you always have, I mean, there's a fear, there's a need, I need to always be good so I don't get punished, or I'm not good enough, so how do I become good enough? So then you get into this delusional kind of a state, or some cognitive dissonance. But then at the same time, it's like, even though you know that person who is supposed to be comforting and caring and your hero and your protector and all these things, there is always a level of, I wish it was better. I wish my mom loved me like that, or father, or whatever. And so, relationships are very complex, and there's a lot of lies we tell to ourselves, which is a big theme about this book. And I think diving into the abusive relationships that poor Claire has an unfortunate repeat with several people in her life, which I think lends to her body dysmorphia, and lends to her trauma, and lends to the things that she struggles with, that causes her to make different kind of decisions, or has trauma actually changes your brain and changes your physiology. And that is something that I think, even though we didn't delve really deeply into that, I think those themes of how we cope,
It's apparent.
yeah, is important.
Well, what I found interesting is that later in the book, she does start having all these plastic surgeries. She gets involved with Barbara as her assistant. Her character goes downhill. The more beautiful she becomes, the uglier on the outside, the uglier she becomes on the inside.
Chasing that beauty, chasing that perfection doesn't feed your soul like you think it will.
No,
And
it actually depletes it. You may, on the outer shell, you may look better, but you are depleting who you are on the inside, and that does lead to serious problems.
and can I take it then that you are not a fan of plastic surgery? And
No, you see this face? I have friends that have all, there's no Botox, there's no fillers. I will never, this is my natural hair color, my natural curly hair. Nope.
Yeah.
Because
I
Carl
am
Jung,
who I am. You're
That's right.
And but at the same time, I'm not going to sit in judgment of anybody who does, especially like, so that's fine. But at
I
the
don't
same
think
time,
it's not judgment, though, if you understand that the vast majority of people who fix their physical whatever aren't happier. And I mean, I know for a long time, I'll try not to show my profile as I say this. I was very self-conscious about my nose. And in fact, one teacher even kind of made a comment about it. And there was a time in my life I thought, I'm gonna, when I was maybe 16, something like that, I'm gonna get my nose changed. Well, eventually it's like, you know what? I'm happy with who I am. I don't care what anyone
But
thinks
you
about my
remember
nose.
that. How old were you when that happened?
Oh, I was in 7th grade, and if she's
And you
out
still
there, thank you,
remember.
Mrs. Castellano. I still remember who
You
said it.
still remember.
Yeah.
Because
The
those
good thing
things, that's the line here about my McDonald's low self-esteem from my 5-star mother. She's saying that to herself, but
Right,
that's how and that's what gets stuff down in us when it comes
right.
to that. And those things are very difficult to extricate from who we are.
But I think it depends what attitude you come to it, because from a very early age, there were some things said and done, I won't go into who, when I was very young, that even at the age of 5, I was like, are you kidding me?
yeah.
Why would you say that? And so in 7th grade, when she said that, yeah, it was a little bit embarrassing, but there was also a very large part of my brain going, that's a really unprofessional thing for a teacher to do to a kid. That's
Oh,
just wrong.
absolutely. Yeah, I want to say two things. One, like I have one of my best friends from high school. She later in life ended up getting breast implants, and it made her deliriously happy. And it wasn't because she was trying to be a Kim Kardashian. For her and how she felt, and that was it. She's never had anything else ever, but that's just her autonomy and agency. She did something for her, and it was healthy. I had a reduction because it was causing me all kinds of
Yep, I've
problems.
heard that.
Yeah, so there's a difference between doing plastic surgery on a healthy level because it
Yes.
makes you happy, great. Or you medically need something, right?
Right.
Versus when trauma hits you so hard that you feel like nothing is ever going to be better. Now I need to get my lips super big, or I need to get cheek implants, or you get into that nothing is ever going to get me. You chase that dragon, so to speak. That's where
Yes.
plastic surgery can get really dangerous. Or when you're super young, and that's what frustrates me about a lot of these reality stars on either Love Island or Kim, the Kardashians or whatever. They're so young when they're already beautiful. They're changing their face when they're already perfect as they are. That is because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, or whatever the expectations are of beauty. And that
Right.
becomes problematic because when young kids or even adults, whomever is looking at, oh, I have a problem with my nose or my ears or fill in the blank. Oh, well, this person who I idolize, well, then I guess I have to do that. And it becomes a mental health issue.
Right.
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
Carl Jung covered this in a book called The Archetypes of the Mind a long time ago. And the basic idea of putting on masks, that we end up spending so much energy putting on those masks and not being ourselves, that it ends
Right.
up creating a huge amount of dysfunction,
Mhm.
within our lives in that. And if we respect our personality, when we respect who we truly are, we can actually flourish as a person versus putting on a persona that other people might want to see, but for ourselves ends up being wrong,
Exactly. And to keep in with Carl Jung, that ends up feeding your shadow, which is what happens
Yes.
with Claire. And it ends up making
Very
your
good.
shadow, the shadow side of you, into a more monstrous kind of a thing that takes
Yes.
over.
Yep. And
Yep.
she does become monstrous. We need to move on to drink 3.
Oh, yep.
As you mentioned the idea of how we forget what we were when we're 6 years old, right? And all this. I will say from the standpoint of being a man that boys never forget that they're a 7-year-old boy. So, the phrase that really struck me about this third reading was the whole idea of bulge in my pants, right? So there's a wonderful cocktail called the bulge in my pants. And I'm going to have some fun with this one. So
That's amazing.
yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
I start with some ice. And what we're going to start with is actually 1.5 ounces of some strawberry vodka.
Now you're talking my language.
Yum yum.
Oh, and it gets better. So, all right, we're going to put 1.5 ounces of the strawberry vodka in. Yeah, whoever came up with flavored vodkas, when I grew up, it was just vodka, Now we're going to go with some banana schnapps.
Ooh.
And I couldn't find banana schnapps, but I found a strawberry banana smoothie. And then I'm going to put in some regular into that, and we'll see how this turns out, because that schnapps has that kind of zippy kind of flavor. And I always respect that line from, what was that with Penny and Sheldon?
Big Bang Theory. Schnapps, because I like to say schnapps.
Exactly, yes.
I don't watch that show or anything.
Bazinga.
Bazinga.
I think we've had some spills and chills here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I had one episode I was doing when Michael Agnew was my co-host, and the beer decided to explode all over as I opened it.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I was begging him, bring me a towel, bring me a towel.
Yes, we must put in the obligatory cherry, and not just a cherry, but here I should give you
A bulging cherry?
Yeah, that's the part of the bulging.
I would just like to say, I think you two have cost us our G rating.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
We
But we've
do-
not
It could have been a sock. I mean,
It probably was, or he lost the tennis ball or something. And it fell down his pants unnoticed.
And so, as a 7-year-old boy, I have to say, please witness the bulge in my pants. Cheers.
Cheers. Well, hold your pearls, honey, because here we go.
and this is when you first meet Barbara. She is a very well-known wellness influencer, and her partner Rafe is the one that he does everything for her. She just talks, right? He's the one that runs the camera. He's the one that uploads everything to social media, and they are also a couple, which you'll discover that later. Which
Oh, we discovered that all right.
yeah. So this is right before they're getting ready to do a recording for her social media channels to all of her followers.
I'm going to do my best to be a professional. Now that I have the drink.
I threw
in
that
my
right
head.
out the window. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
That's gone.
I can do this. You're the most beautiful, sexy, charismatic woman I've ever met. And I'm the luckiest man on the planet. You look so beautiful tonight. And I thought the red and orange flames dancing behind you and your gorgeous auburn hair would add a special ambience while recording the video. Very thoughtful of you, but I'd get too hot and start sweating on camera. My followers would think I'm having a hot flash, and I cannot have that happen. It would ruin my reputation in a second. Again, I don't hate fires. I despise how my body reacts to the heat. He finishes staging the equipment before glancing down at the bulge in his jeans. Guess it's obvious what I think about your body and heat. Every time you put on that red silk robe and you wear your hair loose, framing your face, and the way the material caresses your body. Easy, lover. Let's record the video so you can post it for my followers. Anything else before we begin? Yes, and it's fantastic news. I checked your subscriber numbers while you were getting ready, and you hit 10,000 at $39.95 per month membership. That's nearly 400,000 per month. Oh, and nearly 3,000 requested information about the tea you were drinking in the previous videos. Really? Yeah, but for now, we made the right decision of avoiding mentioning anything about offering tea or an elixir or another product requiring FDA approval. Like you've mentioned previously, that's a complex issue we aren't ready to deal with just yet. I agree. We do need to sit down and brainstorm about how to offset some of the profit, since the LLC really doesn't have much overhead. Hiring a new marketing assistant will help, but I don't think it will be enough. Oh, I almost forgot. I have a surprise for you. He produces a small black velvet box from the back pocket of his jeans and brings it to me. I open it and blink twice at the beautiful silver necklace with a large heart-shaped aquamarine. Oh, Rafe, it's beautiful. He smiles that crooked, sexy smile, head cocked to the side, eyes brimming with love, and my heart melts. Thank goodness I'm sitting down, because my stomach flutters and my knees feel weak. Happy 10th anniversary, babe. When I saw this gorgeous piece, I knew it needed to be around your lovely neck. Here, let me put it on so all your subscribers will turn green with envy. You're such a thoughtful soul. I love you. Despite my best efforts to remain stoic, my voice cracks with emotion at this unexpected display of love and generosity, while he secures the delicate chain around my neck. He brushes his lips against mine, sending shivers of desire throughout my body, igniting my core. I place my hand on his cheek and softly push him away. I don't want to ruin my makeup, love. But I promise you, I'll thank you properly for this stunning gift later, once you post the message I'm about to give, and we return from harvesting the plants. The weather report forecasts temperatures dipping below freezing in 2 days. Then we will celebrate this milestone and our 10-year anniversary as soulmates. But only if you promise not to dampen the celebration by discussing taxes or potential employees tonight. Sounds like a plan, babe. Time to get this episode completed. He holds up his fingers. Okay, in 3, 2. I avert my gaze from his face, zeroing in on my phone's camera and speaking directly to it as he taught me, relishing every second as excitement makes my skin tingle. God, how I love the ability to speak directly, intimately to so many people at one time. It's truly addicting and unlike anything I've experienced before.
A major question I had, why did you, it actually opens in December of 2025, which as of this recording hasn't happened.
Right.
And it goes 11 years into the
Mhm.
future. Why did you set it that far? Why did you set it in the future at all?
For the first reason I did that is because technology is a little bit more advanced in this book of things that we don't have, but things that are more than likely coming down the pike. So that was the number one reason. I didn't want to go backwards because technology wouldn't be ready for that. And also because so much happens in that time span. And if you read the book, no spoilers, you know what happens in the end,
Right.
and you understand why things played out the way that they did, and it wouldn't have been something that could have happened overnight, which is very much synonymous with what actually happens in real life. The frog in the boiling pot of water, it doesn't know that it's there until it's too late.
Mhm.
And that is what happens to all of these characters, that they don't realize the dangers that they are putting themselves in because of their actions and how it's going to affect them later in life. And we all live that every day. We all have to make choices every single day of what we're doing, hoping maybe, or sometimes maybe you're not thinking about it, how it's going to affect us later. And some people don't even think about that. They just do
Like
it.
agreeing to meet a stranger off the internet in a cemetery at night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and
Would go wrong.
yeah, and with Bridget is go ahead.
I was just going to say the mentioning of taxes I thought was interesting and very funny, because this was a way that I could convince Laura to marry me, is that I could say that I would do her taxes. Because this was something she completely dreaded. And as an MBA in finance, I completely relished.
Clever.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say is with Bridget, especially on Bridget, we start when she's 7, and then we take her to 18, and it's. I mean, kids are indoctrinated by the age of 2, right? 1 with here, babysit my kid with, and and they're so proficient, like,
It's scary.
scary. So
Yep.
showing how it can affect a child, and then as she grows up and you see snippets in several of Bridget's chapters when she's different ages, was important to go through her adolescence to early adulthood and to see how she changed and see how it changed her, and the consequences of our choices will be what they will be.
Right. One thing I found interesting that Barbara says at some point is that women don't make themselves beautiful for the sake of men. They do it to make other women envious. I am curious, from your experiences, is that true, or is it only what Barbara believes is true?
I think it's both. I've been a performer from stage and TV and film and voiceover for pretty much 30 years, most of my life, right? And there is obviously there's the part where you want to look good for your partner, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend. So there's that allure and whatnot, and that chemistry. But with women, especially in my industry, it can be very catty. It can be very judgmental. It's another reason why so many young women get plastic surgery or get the Botox or get the duck lips, because they're keeping up with the Joneses, like I said before. Not because they're worried about their boyfriend, but because they're worried about, oh, well, Jessica just got this, and look at how all the attention she's getting. So it's a competition, even if it's like, which was put upon us, right? With the ads, and even from way back in the 50s, you always have to look your best, and you always have to, but it's important to note that it's not just about looking good for someone else, but you should actually only want to do it because you look good for yourself.
I found that a very interesting comment. I've often joked that I'm missing part of the female gene because I don't like shopping. I do not like trying on clothes, ironically, but also because I played trombone from the time I was in 6th grade through playing semi-professionally into my 30s. I spent a lot of time with guys, not with girls. And these guys, sometimes in college, I think, forgot that it wasn't just all the guys, and they spoke a little more freely. And I realized, they're talking about, okay, so all the girls, I'm hearing it from their side in college. Oh my gosh, all these men wanted to, hook up with me at the frat party, and I'm so popular and beautiful, and I must be amazing. And then I go sit with my low brass studio, who's all guys except me. And these guys are like, oh man, she is so easy. What is that phrase? Men give love to get sex, and women give sex to get love.
Yes.
Something like that.
And that's
I
very
saw
true.
it close up. And so I don't think I ever really felt that, because I'm seeing these guys close up and going, you need to learn what you're dealing with.
So in my case, a lot of Claire's character comes from my personal experiences in terms of just some of the snarkiness and the way she looks at certain things in the world. A lot of that came from me personally. And when I was younger, girls were very catty. I was very athletic. I was very much a tomboy. I would be out there, and I still to this day, I'm an NRA certified firearms instructor. And guess what? I'm usually the only female that's out there. It doesn't, I've always been drawn to, I have sports cars. I've always had sports cars because I like them. I'm like you. I don't like to shop. I do like makeup. So I am girly in that aspect. But I do that for other women because I know I have been on the receiving end for so many years from very catty women commenting about how I looked. And not the guys, but the women. Mean things that when you're younger stick with you. There's a one of my books, there's a line that was said to me many times over the years, and it's still something that bothers me to this day. So I realize that this character, she's going through so much, and it's like, that is so true, because Claire is trying to impress her mother, and will, until the day she dies, she's trying to impress, even though her mom is dead. She is not trying to impress her boyfriend Chris or her boss Barbara or anybody else. She's trying to impress her mom. And so many women suffer from that problem. And or a best friend or older sister or someone that they really looked up to. In Bridget's case, she's enamored with Barbara because she's so beautiful. It's not about trying to fluff our feathers and attract a mate. It's more about getting that acceptance of, yes, you are beautiful, from somebody that we want it from so badly.
Where can people find you online?
AndreaEmmes.com is my website, and I'm on pretty much all the socials. They have different names, but if you type in Andrea Emmes, you'll find me.
I have is ashleyfontaine.net, and then of course I'm on Facebook, and that's really about it.
So you can find us at booksandbrews.net. You can also find Books and Brews Light at our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@booksandbrews. LauraVosiga.com is where you can find my books if you would like to travel back to medieval Scotland, which I think you should want to.
Or medieval St. Paul.
Right. You can find our sponsor and lots of great authors at GabrielSwornPress.com, and you can find The Ram Who Trampled Me and many more at GlenvilleFarms.wordpress.com. I have no upcoming public events unless somebody wants to join me on the farm and help me scoop rabbit poop. You are welcome.
Well, when you put it that way.
Yeah, who can say no, right? Let me get in my vehicle. We'll head that way.
Well, we're actually finishing an Airbnb cabin too as well. So you do have a nice place to stay if you do want to take it. Do we happen to have an interesting guest next month, Laura?
We do. Jake Needham is coming to us. He is an American, but he's coming to us from Bangkok. So to account for time difference, we will be filming very late at night. He is an American lawyer who became a screen and television writer through a series of coincidences too ridiculous for anyone to believe. It's about that.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, doesn't it? When he realized how little he actually liked movies and television, he started writing crime novels. He has published 17 novels that have collectively sold over 1 million copies. He lives in Bangkok with his wife, an Oxford graduate and prematurely retired concert pianist. But cheers!